What's up, everybody? I'm David Hain. Welcome to episode number 328 of the A2D From Addict to Disciple podcast. If you enjoyed this podcast, please like, subscribe, follow, and share the link with your friends. If you'd like to get our curriculum, you can get the paperback or ebook of From Ashes to Destiny on Amazon. Today's episode, again, is number 328, and it's entitled, Where Am I Going? This episode really came in response to some feedback I got from episode number 314, which was entitled Greatness Requires Greatness. And very specifically, I got some feedback from one person who said, David, you asked, are you ready to acquire greatness in recovery? My answer is, no, I'm not. No, I'm not ready to strive for greatness or excellence. I've always been a loser, always come in last, or at best, second place. The only thing I've been great at is being an addict. So I'm actually settling just to be clean and sober. And if it's a struggle, it's a struggle, whatever it is. So this feedback stirred stuff in me to say, that's similar to a lot of guys that I've worked with over the years where they really didn't have the same goals, the same focus as the place where they were going for treatment or rehab or what have you, and didn't really have a clue where they were going. So I thought I'd reach out to other listeners who sent me feedback messages and people that I've worked with. And I asked them 4 questions. Where are you going in life? Where are you at right now? Are you seeking greatness? And are you striving for excellence? I spoke to a lot of different people on this. So I'm going to categorize their feedback based on the situation they were in and then give little snippets of what the various guys have said to me. The first one was a category of guys who are off the streets, staying with another guy or maybe have their own flat, but they're staying clean and sober. And the stuff I heard was, David, I didn't want to quit forever. I just was interested in getting a break for a time. And I knew it was time to get a break. So I didn't do it to get great. I just did it to get started. Other guys said things like, I started in my recovery because I needed to avoid some legal consequences. It was either get into treatment or go to prison. Another guy said, I did it to appease my mom, to win back my baby's mama also. But I realized that they were barking dogs in my life and I needed to get away from the barking dogs. Another guy said, my dealer was harassing me about my debt. I had nothing left to pawn. So I was just seeking a season without chaos, and I'm not sure how long it can last. Second category were guys who were in rehab and for all apparent views were working the program, but their answers were interesting. One guy said, I didn't want to commit to a program and ongoing meetings. I'm not into this whole journey of recovery stuff. Another guy said, what I needed to do, I do on my own and I can do on my own. Common thing I heard from guys was, why is this program so long? Whatever happened to the 28-day programs? So their answers to the question, where are you going, would be more along the lines of, I'm just going to put the time in this program and move on to whatever's next. The third category were guys who were in longer term programs and said, I came here because I got a free pass. They gave me a free bed, and so I'm just taking advantage of it. And what they said, I'm here, but I don't know that I'm going along with the program because their thing is the 12 steps. And with step one, I knew I wasn't powerless. Hello, I'm proving I'm not powerless by staying here. Another guy said, I'm not as bad as the countless guys who would never have come to rehab. But a common theme was, I don't want to work the steps. I got high with a lot of guys who were working the steps and went to meetings and had a sponsor, but still used. So that's not what I want to be involved in. Another group of guys that I spoke to would fit into the category of they're not in a program as far as residential rehab. They're not in a treatment program with the counselor, but they're doing their 90 meetings in 90 days at AA or NA. And the common thread I heard here was things like, well, I'm enjoying AA and NA. I can see the structure, but I don't know about all this other stuff that's going on. In every meeting, we open with a prayer and close with a prayer. I'm not interested in a religious awakening. What did God ever do for me and my family? Another guy said, I know the church says immersion leads to conversion, but hey, I'm not looking to be converted while I'm coming to these meetings, so lighten up, everybody. So another area then of where am I going would involve where are you going with your spirituality? And we hear this can be a confusing aspect for guys. The next category would be guys who are in a 1-year rehab. And what I've heard from them as far as complaints were things like, the problem is it feels like boot camp or boarding school or worse. The bottom line that I want to say is don't shove stuff down my throat. Another guy said, I'm not breaking your house rules, and most of them are nonsense anyway, so get off my back. So again, a struggle then in figuring out where you're going is other people you may be working with may have all that figured out for you and just are trying to shove it down your throat, as they say, to get you on board. The last group of guys that I spoke to would have in common that they're in their reentry to community phase, their last month, so to speak, of their time in a long-term program. And their answers were around working the program, but how long it took to get started before they could figure out where they were going. And one guy said, it took me about 3 months to figure out surrender and to start talking about the program and taking it seriously. And then a lot of their comments had to do with, were they working the program or were they just putting in time? And those answers were all over the place. But what was interesting was they had in common concern with the new expectations as they were getting ready to leave. And they said things like, as I'm preparing to leave, it seems like they put a new set of hurdles that they want me to jump over. And if I piece all of their things together, I come up with a long sentence here, which has a bunch of words starting with the letter P. How do I find the passion to believe in the process that these people tell me about? They want me to perform, to show progress, to find purpose, and they believe that will help me determine where I'm going. But I don't know that I can do all that stuff. Wow. So a lot of confusion on where I'm going next. Am I going to where I want to go? Am I meeting others' expectations? Am I just putting in the time where I'm at now and figuring something will come? Well, let me give you some homework for everybody that's listening. I have some questions I want to ask and some quotes to give you. And for each of the points that I make now, I'd like you to think and write down any aspect that comes to mind. How you could answer it physically, emotionally, spiritually, relationally, mentally. Think about your values, what matters to you, what brings you joy. So the first one, and again, this fits that, where am I going? Here's where I am today. Can you write about that? John Steinbeck said, and I quote, "To find where you are going, you must know where you are." Second, this is what got me here. Can you spend some time reflecting and writing about that? Maya Angelou said, "You can't really know where you are going until you know where you have been." And Joseph Lowery said, "If you don't know where you come from, it's difficult to determine where you are. It's even more difficult to plan where you are going." So, some important time of reflection to say, how did you get here? Where have you been? That can help you go through the process of planning where you're going next. Next question is, where should I be next? Where am I heading? Can you spend some time reflecting on that? Yogi Berra said, "If you don't know where you are going, you might wind up someplace else." And I think that's so important for all the guys who were saying, I'm just going to see what comes next. I'm just taking it as it comes. And the problem is, if we don't know where we're going, we may end up someplace else where we don't want to be. And the next question is, what must I do to get there? And Iyanla Vanzant said, planning is the only way to keep yourself on track. Plan your moments to be joyous. Plan your days to be filled with peace. Plan your life to be an experience of growth. When you know where you are going, the universe will clear a path for you. Powerful quote. So in closing, I just want to say, where are you going? Where would you like to be? And I'll give you some suggestions. Would you like to go to some place full of hope, a place full of peace and joy, a place of strength and resilience, a place full of love? Sounds like an awesome place to me. And Maya Angelou said, and I quote, "Love recognizes no barriers. It jumps hurdles. It leaps fences. It penetrates walls to arrive at its destination full of hope." So in closing, I'd like to say, if you are focusing on planning where you're going, can it be a place full of hope? Thanks for listening to this episode of the A to D From Addict to Disciple podcast. Feel free to reach out and contact me through my website, www.fromatod.org, or by using the message on this platform that you're listening to the podcast. Keep listening to future podcast episodes, and as always, stay safe and stay resilient.